Last but not least, you all have made it through the day. We'd like to welcome Paramacharya. It's been a long day.
It's okay.
And Dr. Andrew Jackson, who are here today to talk about STEM elective subjects for middle school.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm so thankful that you all have stuck around. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a chance to talk to you. So I am Dr. Parama Chaudhary. I work at the College of Education. I teach courses in educational technology. And he will introduce himself.
I'm Andy Jackson, not Dr. Andy Jackson, Andy Jackson. And I am recently retired from Harrisonburg City Public Schools as engineering teacher, physics teacher, science coordinator, co-director of our Governor's STEM Academy, adjunct with physics and astronomy here at JMU, and beginning to dip my toe in the College of Education with practicum students and student teachers.
So we are going to talk about STEM. Now, you might think, STEM? Like, why? We know everything there is to STEM. There's been so much research on STEM, what to teach in STEM, how to teach in STEM, and why she's speaking on STEM. Tell you in a little while. So our description of this project that we want to do is refocusing the STEM learning for K-12 students to augment their critical knowledge and skills to be successful in 21st century skills. Now, when we talk of 21st century skills, what does come to mind? Collaboration, communication. And are these students who are already learning STEM in K-12 schools, do you think they are ready to do that when they go up to higher education, when they are ready for looking for jobs? Not for STEM at least. So the 21st century education that relates to STEM for these K-12 students is very, very deeply missing. And so we are going to talk about that. Now, the Virginia Department of Education, it defines, or what we call as VDOE for short, it defines that STEM literacy is the ability to identify and acknowledge science, technology, engineering, mathematics concepts and processes in everyday life. So, what is this, in everyday life thing? So we know that they are able to, what is STEM? Like, getting all of them together, interdisciplinary. But are they really applying them, in everyday life? Are they really seeing something and saying, hey, you know what? This is what we learned in school about math. This is what we learned in school about science. This is engineering. I can do this. I can build this robot just by using, these whatever is left at home in the home garage. So that is something that probably the curriculums are missing. Now, this could be what a STEM curriculum, the STEM classroom looks like. See, everybody is hands-on. So one thing is important in STEM is it's not just theory, it's hands-on, You learn to do things by your hands, you recognize those things, and that's how you learn. Now, what are STEM classrooms? There are some career snapshots. There could be anywhere labs. STEM could be taught anywhere. There could be mobile laboratories, and I can show you a picture coming later. STEM skill series and at-home science. Even at home, if these students are learning better in class, they can, show, hey mom, let me show you some cool stuff. That doesn't happen often, and that needs to happen. And that's what we're talking about. Now, what is the key challenge in STEM learning? We have most school districts have STEM, most school districts have STEM teachers, most school districts have STEM labs. So what is the key challenge here? absence of learning equity that underrepresents certain ethnic minority group students. So when you move from a K-12 school where STEM is present everywhere and you move to a higher education institution, will you see the same number of those minority students that were in K-12 in the higher education? No, you will not, because of the lack of presence. That day I learned, a few weeks back, I learned that swimming, which is such a popular national sport, does not represent Black American students so much as they do white American students, and Howard University is really working towards it so that Black American students are not only part of the swimmers that go for competitive swimming, but also for viewership. So you need examples. I need somebody to look like me and up there in the podium and say, hey, if she's up there, why can't I do it? So those examples are very, very necessary. So those are the examples that our K-12 students are not finding in their K-12 classrooms. So by the numbers, let's get into some statistics. So 25th out of 37 OECD nation among 15 years old. So that's the math, so can you see how low it is? For National Mathematics course of US minority non-Asian, 8th grades were lower than those for white and Asian peers. Middle school mathematics teachers in the field of higher degree were less prevalent at high minority enrollment schools. So these are the challenges, these are the numbers that we need to look at. These are the numbers we really need to think deeply about and, understand what are we doing that is, affecting these numbers. What are we doing that is bringing these numbers here? What can we do better? Now, in the STEM statistics, in the Black enrollment field, the proportion of majority degrees in science awarded to Black graduates remained flat, as in no going up, no going down, at about 9% from 2001 to 2016. Now that's 16 years, 15 years. So do we think that we need to do something about, increasing the numbers of these students who move from K-12 to higher education and have a minority background and see themselves in STEM education? Now, equity is not then therefore limited to whether these K-12 students have STEM classes in their classroom. It is not then limited to whether they have STEM labs in their classroom. We saw those STEM classrooms, so it is not limited to whether they can do things with their hands. After K-12, what? What after K-12? Can they move to higher education? Can they move to higher education and choose STEM degrees as their majors? Can they work in STEM? So that is the major challenge here. And now why and how we can overcome those challenges is what we are talking about. So do you want to talk about the stakeholders here, Andy?
I would. What we're proposing is that we bring together key people in the learning and teaching of STEM. Classroom teachers at the grade 5 and 6 who are working in math or engineering or science. Bring together pre-service teachers from JMU who are learning that craft of teaching. Bring together science, engineering, STEM-related field majors from JMU, and bring those three groups of people together to create the lessons that the classroom teacher needs in their room to promote the STEM education. By having these groups of people together, we are not doing what I've seen happen before, where a lesson is brought to the classroom teacher and said, here's a great lesson, do this. No investment in it. It may not match the standards. It may not match what she needs to do in her classroom. The classroom teacher may or may not have the expertise in the science fields, in the interest things to the 5th grade and 6th grade students that maybe the college students at JMU do have. And by bringing that group together, we'll have two things. We'll have ownership by the teacher, new input from exciting wannabe teachers and exciting young STEM majors. We'll also build a partnership with those people that I hope will result in those JMU students being that role model that that 5th grade, 6th grade student gets to see and work with. Because what I've found is, no research on this, just 35 years of teaching. What I found is that if I bring in you as a STEM person to talk to our high school or middle school teachers, you are far removed from their life. But if you bring in a college student who's an engineering major to talk to 10th graders, or you bring in a high school engineering interested student to talk to middle schoolers, there is a connection that occurs that's very strong and very different. So the hope is that our 5th grade, 6th grade students see themselves a tier or two above themselves and makes it that much more reachable.
And we've described here what we mean by veteran in-service teachers who are already teaching STEM subjects in middle schools, and pre-service teachers who are JMU students who are enrolled in teacher certification programs. And the JMU student groups are groups like Madison STEM Corps, Student Society of Women Engineers, Engineer Ambassadors, and National Society of Black Engineers. So, the students see somebody like themselves through these students.
One of the things that comes to mind when you look at the statistics of underrepresented populations in STEM fields is there something, are there blockades, are there hurdles that are in place? And we've done a lot of work within Virginia schools, specifically I know Harrisonburg, to remove those hurdles. And then you maybe still don't make progress. And then the next question is, well, if the physical barriers are removed, then what's the next step? Why does a student not see themselves there yet? And so trying to take the curriculum that we are obligated to teach, that we need to teach, that teachers have had input in and know it's the science that they need to learn, or the engineering they need to learn, or the math they need to learn, and then crafting lessons around that. We have seen in classrooms with a STEM push-in, sometimes those are hands-on, but not deeply curriculum on. So building a tower with toothpicks and marshmallows is a thing, but what is the curriculum that it's teaching? And do you have the time to give to that if you're not teaching the science or math that they need to learn? That's where we're thinking that this partnership of in-service teachers, pre-service teachers, and STEM majors brings all the pieces together to make sure that that lesson is the right lesson for it.
So this is one example where I worked in Bloomington, Indiana, where they had a STEM bus. So the bus fitted with a lot of, these STEM digitals and robotics and stuff like that. And we used to actually drive this bus to these school districts. The teachers would plan a lesson, and the students would actually be here or in the classroom. And things like if we were minting a coin, and we would actually use that laser cutter to mint a coin, and then the history of how coins and how this all happened in America. So we did this. I was very deeply involved in this, and this was my first what can I say, my first idea of what I wanted to do. And then we talked, and then we decided that no, we should first talk about curriculum and how they can be represented better. So this is one example that I'm showing you that, many states are doing, including Indiana, where I'm from. This is the current spread of, how districts are here. So first we want to do this in the nearby districts, and if it has a good take, then we can move further. And it depends on what we are trying to do, really depends on you. So the difference is you, and all of us here. If you are interested, you think this is good enough, project to help our K-12 students, please come forward. Please help us with this so that we can move our project, we can move our ideas throughout all these 8, divisions slowly, and then we can make it an open curriculum. We can make it, we can bring in other universities where their students, can come here. So you can see elementary, middle, high school, combined, center, special ed. So, there's no dearth of students who we can do this with. So the difference between this here in the board as an idea and the difference between it happening really is you. So if you think this is a good idea, please support us. We need your support. We cannot do anything here without your support, and we are here to entreat you for your support. The budget here is $21,000. The personnel will be paid $6,000. Researchers, both of us, and then travel we've kept $2,000 at the minimum, so that first we can just go around the nearby school district, so that doesn't cost us too much. And the equipment is $7,000. So STEM equipment is what JMU will buy, and then what schools need, we will rent out to them, and then take it back once that lesson or that curriculum is over, and then go on to the next school or the next school district with the same equipment. So the equipment is not something that we are paying this money to the schools or the school districts to buy. This is something which is going to be owned by JMU, and we will rent it out to students like schools and school districts. Thank you so much for attending our conversation here, and if we are open to questions, if you have any. I'm sure you do. Please do have questions.
Have you spoken to the local school districts already in the area just to get buy-in and how this would dovetail to what students are already being taught?
We've spoken to some, like Amy Sabare.
Yeah, we've talked to Tammy Stone with Rockingham and Amy Sabari with Harrisonburg. Both gave very, very similar answers. We're blessed here. We have the stuff largely. We have the things. A lot of times what we don't have is the time and ability to bring the people together to make sure that we're creating those lessons, and this allows this program to enhance that. And they both said, we really need these STEM lessons that bring it back to the curriculum. We need it to bring it back to the standards that we need to teach, not just handing them a new lesson.
More questions, please.
Okay, so were they receptive to having this as part of the actual class time, or is this going to be like club time or an after-school program? Because what we found in a lot of these schools with doing different programs is that they're so mandated, almost every minute of the day is mandated, and while this follows, the curriculum is great, but when would they be using this?
So we did not discuss this, but I think during the class time, we could bring in JMU students, pre-service teachers, before we have, after we have a discussion with all of them, and this is what we are doing in the class time. Because many students have transport problems, so doing it after school would hinder many of them to join these. So we keep all of these in mind, and because these are also like kind of problems in unity. So we want to do it where most students can't afford to be in class, but this is still at the like
stages.
planning stages. So we will need to all sit together, divide the curriculum in pieces, and then come together with it.
And the answer I would have is that is the incredibly important reason that you need that in-service classroom teacher there working with people to lead the charge. Like, no, I can't do that in my classroom. You don't understand. We've got this time, what can we do?
Yeah,
And make it real and doable.
absolutely.
All right. Thank you both very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.